Alright, now I'm going to talk about the topic on why you could be craving for sugar and also on hypoglycemic as well. Hypoglycemic means low sugar. A lot of times people feel irritable when they're hungry or they're really tired in between meals. And the reason for that is first understand how the body actually absorbs sugar. So you have bloodstream right here and you have sugar in your bloodstream. And so when you're hungry, a lot of times people automatically just eat tons of sugar. And when you have tons of sugar going to your bloodstream, what would happen is it will increase your bloodstream sugar. And these are blood sugar, right? So you have the cell right here, and it's saying hungry. And you can't send the cell to go to your bloodstream to grab the sugar. So somebody actually has to deliver that. So delivery would be from pancreas. Your pancreas is an organ that sits right around here where your stomach is at, and pancreas is going to produce something called insulin. I'm sure you heard of that before. And insulin is going to grab a piece of sugar and come out of the bloodstream and actually deliver to the cell. And once the cell ate it, it's going to be a very happy cell, right? And so what happened is after you take as many sugar out, they're going to decrease in number. So we're going to erase some of these sugars so you don't have that many in there anymore. So when we're done with delivering, then you got to eat more sugar. Again, pancreas has to produce insulin to come and grab the sugar to the cell. And the cell eats it and now it's happy again. But what happened is every time pancreas produce insulin, they also have to send a signal to the brain and tell the brain that how many insulin is being produced. But every time the brain receives a signal, just like if you have a son and somebody gives them 3 boxes of chocolate, what are you going to tell that son? You're going to tell that son like, you better not eat them all, right? So same thing with your brain. The more the brain knows that more insulin is being produced to grab those sugar into the cell, the brain is actually going to tell the cell to stop eating. So we call it down regulation. Say, down girl or down boy, stop eating those sugar. So eventually, you're going to have a cell that have tons of negative feedback from it. So when that happened, what would happen is that even the cell is still very hungry, they actually was told not to receive any insulin. So when that happened, you actually say no to sugar. So no to sugar, no to sugar, no to sugar. So this cells continue to be really hungry. Eventually, it will die. And when this cells is still very hungry, what they do is that they keep telling the brain that I'm still hungry. Now the brain is very confused because half the brain is going to say don't eat too much because a lot of sugar keep being inputted to the bloodstream and the pancreas keep producing insulin to deliver the sugar, and they keep sending signal to the brain say how much insulin being produced, and the brain is going to keep telling the cells say hey, don't eat too much. But part of the brain is actually going to be very confused because the cells keep sending signal to the other side of the brain and say I'm very hungry. So the other side of the brain actually going to tell the body and say eat more. And the fastest energy that you can get is actually sugar, say eat sugar. So when that happens, you have this person can't absorb nutrition and still constantly say I need food, and they keep eating and eating and eating and eating, and now when the insulin cannot be delivered to the cell, they're going to store as fat. So now you have a person who love to crave for sugar because they actually can't absorb their nutrient and gain a lot of weight and feeling tired all the time. Now in this situation right here, where the cell cannot receive blood sugar and say no to insulin, we call it the insulin resistance. Insulin resistance, right? Say no to insulin. That's what we have, insulin resistant. We call it type 2 diabetes. And this is exactly what happened. And that's what diabetic is very dangerous, because your cell actually dies at the end. And so like your eyesight will be involved, your toes will be involved because they're smaller cell organism, and so the thin lining of the back of your eye that actually will actually produce dead cells faster, so your vision will actually be affected. Or your toes is so far from your heart, and the nutrition deliverer and the blood supply deliverer will be a lot poorer as well. So when that happens, you can have dying of the toes or the foot. Eventually you might have to cut them off, and that's why at the end a lot of body organs start falling apart as well because of that.